Hi boys and girls, this is your science e-learning lesson for Wednesday, April the 8th. Today you're going to be reading in your textbook pages 332 to 335. This is how does matter change? So you know that matter is anything that, has mass, shape, takes up space. Okay, well now we're going to be looking at how does matter change, and there are some different changes that matter can go through. And one of those changes is called physical change. And that's what I want you to read about today. You can see on page 332 and 333, there are actually, the pictures there are actually examples of physical changes. You can see first off on page 332, you have a ball of yarn. You can take that ball of yarn and from that you can knit or crochet something. In this case, there was a scarf or a long strip that was made. Then you could take that, and after it was done you might say, oh, I really don't like how that came out, and then you can undo that yarn and take out that scarf or whatever it was that you made, and you can undo it. Okay, those would all be examples of physical change. In each of those cases you still had that same blue yarn. The first time it was in a ball all rolled up. The next time it was then taken and crocheted or knitted into a long strip. And then in the third picture, you've taken that and you've pulled it apart, and now you sort of just have that pile of yarn. But those are examples of physical changes. You still have the yarn, it just looks a little differently each time. On page 333, you see some green paper. And this is actually origami paper that is used here. So you have a sheet of green origami paper. It was then taken and folded up. And the first time it was folded, it looked as though it almost looked like a plane that was made there. Okay, but it wasn't. That was just the first few steps being folded. And by the third picture, you can see that the creation was completed there. And now you can see it looks like a frog. So you had the smooth plain paper initially, then folds it up somewhat, then folds it a little bit more, and then down at the bottom, what happens? That creation was then undone, and now you still see that square of green paper, only of course now you can see some creases in it because it had been folded up. Well, what they're showing you here also are examples of physical changes. What did you notice? You still have that same green paper. It was just folded in different ways and then undone, but you still have that same green paper. These are examples of your physical changes. I want you to read carefully about physical change for a better understanding of what we mean by that. And then on pages 334 and 335, you're reading about phase changes, and I want you to read to find out what exactly do we mean by phase changes. I want you to think about the word phase. When we talk about the moon, we talk about the phases of the moon. We have a full moon, we have a half moon, a quarter moon. Okay, when we have what we look at as the crescent-shaped moon, those are different phases of the moon. Okay, phases, those changes that the moon appears to go through. So I want you to read about, well, what do we mean by phase changes? And are phase changes the same as physical changes? Are they different? How do those two compare? So you're going to read again pages 332 to 335. On page 333, you will answer question numbers 1 and 2. And on page 335, only question 1. So you have 3 questions to read. You have, actually it's really only 3 pages that need to be read, and there are 3 questions to answer. Again, numbers 1 and 2 on page 333, and number 1 on page 335. Any questions? Please reach out to me. I'll see you later. Bye.